is August 8th.
88 Lions Gate, whatever that means.
888 Lions Gate, exactly, whatever that means. August 8th, it's 6:25 here on Maui, and we are currently in the third line of
line.
Gate 7, which is in the sun, and Gate 13, which is in the earth. So, I'm going to read from the I Ching. Gate 7, the Army, the role of the self in interaction, the point of convergence. By design, the need for leadership to guide and order society. This is the Rave I Ching, which is out of the Book of Definitive Human Design Science Differentiation Magic. So this is line 3, the anarchist, the rejection of any institutionalized order. In its exaltation, it's the constant need for change, no matter what the prevailing conditions. That would be the drive for the self to express many roles. Detriment is the nihilist, which is the capacity of the self to deny value in any role. So in the expression of multiple roles, either the drive to express them or the drive or the capacity to deny value in those roles. And as a general, it's the rejection of institutionalized order. So regardless of exaltation or detriment, it's still a rejection in some way. It's just, again, the style of rejection, which is the acceptance and the drive to express those many roles or to deny the value in those roles. Luke, would you like to read the I Ching?
Just fill this with water.
I shall read the I Ching.
Read.
7.
Tracy says hi, happy to be here and learn more from each of you. Awesome.
Yeah, what's up?
We're learning together.
Awesome. Yeah, so we have a lot of new people because I decided to go crazy on TikTok last night. So what we're doing here is we're talking about the transits, just a little segue. The transits are the conditioning and programming elements of the sun and the earth specifically are the strongest ones. There are transits for Mercury, Venus, all the other planets, but we get 70% of our programming neutrinos from the sun and the earth. And so those are going to be specifically the ones that we focus on because these are the things that, for instance, if you were born on this day, your sun would be in this quality. Your sun would be expressed through this anarchist, the rejection of institutionalized order. And then your earth would be gate 13, line 3. So one thing to note about the transits, as we're talking about them, this is not necessarily changing your chart or changing your strategy or changing your authority, although it does affect your strategy and authority. For instance, you might feel an anarchist online today that is not necessarily a part of who you are. It's just the transits. So with that being said, there are things that happen, like, for instance, if this 7 turns on and you have gate 33 in the throat, which pairs with the 7 in the G, there's going to be perhaps a excitement around, if you have 31 in the throat, 31 would be influence. 7 is the army, or the organization of the army. 31 is the general or the influence to lead the army. So, for instance, if this turns on, as it's on right now, you might feel this like, oh my God, now there's an army or there's things that are, I'm finally able to organize things and my influence has a place to land. You don't want to start a business or enter into a relationship or move across the country because of that. Okay. This is just the transits. This is like the weather, right? It's like right now it's rainy, but it's not always going to be rainy here. Right. So I'm not going to, glue a raincoat and, an umbrella to my forehead just because it's raining for 1 week, right? Because next week it might be sunny and then I'm going to look silly with a raincoat glued to me. First of all, that's crazy. And a umbrella on my head. So with that being said, let's read line 3 from this is directly from the I Ching.
I Ching, the Book of Changes. 6 in the third place means perchance the army carries corpses and the wagons. Misfortune. So we talked about this a bit yesterday, where what they mean by carrying corpses in the wagon is like carrying dead weight. It's like trying to take all the people that maybe died on the battlefield and carry them on throughout battle, but now you are slowing yourself down, your whole army down. Also, like if we look at it from a personal perspective, is like carrying all the baggage instead of letting it die off. So letting those little deaths happen, recognizing them, and moving forward. Yeah, I'll just keep it at that because it's a pretty long explanation. It's kind of a lot.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of sense too. This is a third line, so recognizing mistakes and accepting, like, forgiveness is one of the best medicines, because at any point you can choose to forgive yourself and wash yourself clean of whatever it is that you have to forgive yourself from. Up until the point of forgiveness, you're just going to carry that around. And so again, today might be a good energy to witness all the roles that you're playing and the expressions of the roles, and consider using your strategy and authority and your unique process. What things can I lay to rest? What things can I bury? What things can I burn? Excellent. On to 13. So 13 this is the earth. And I've been speaking about it as if, the sun is showering us with this light or water, or energy, neutrinos, programming neutrinos. 13 is where the earth is. So earth is the cup that's catching everything. Earth is the container that's catching everything. So right now that cup is the fellowship of man, or the listener, which is universal ideas and the values in an ordered framework which inspires humanistic cooperation. Currently, line 3 is pessimism, is the belief that what is best can never be achieved, a lack of trust that can only be transformed through concrete evidence. Openness that is conditioned by a suspicion and seeks evidence. Its detriment is pessimism exalted to an art form, whereas art, it may have the opposite effect, satire, where the rightness of suspicion can inspire satire. So with that pessimism, it's like, again, either that's going to create a drive for experimentation and exploration to sort of prove a concept, or to reach for the best, or it's going to create this kind of contentment and I would say, like how you say, negatively charged or detrimentally charged in contentment, that then just like teases all of those who are reaching for their best selves. So with that being said, this line has been active since yesterday, at least yesterday for us here in Hawaii. And in roughly 6, 7, 8 hours, the transits are going to change, which you can check the transit actual time change through Neutrino app or any of the other apps usually they have, if they have a transit feature. But we're going to move into the fourth line, which we didn't do the fourth line of the sun, but while we're here, let's read the third line of 13, and then we'll read the fourth line.
9 in the third place means he hides his weapons in the thicket. He climbs the high hill in front of it. For 3 years he does not rise up. Here fellowship has changed about to mistrust. Each man distrusts the other, plans a secret ambush, and seeks to spy on his fellow from afar. We are dealing with an obstinate opponent whom we cannot come at by this method. Obstacles standing in the way of fellowship with others are shown here. One has mental reservations for one's own part and seeks to take his opponent by surprise. This very fact makes one mistrustful, suspecting the same whiles in his opponent and trying to ferret them out. The result is that one departs further and further from true fellowship. The longer this goes on, the more alienated one becomes. So yeah, hiding weapons in the thicket. It's like hiding the truth of what you're trying to say. Like, and making people read between the lines. It's like, hey, do you want to come hang out? And it's like, oh yeah, let me hit you up on that day, and then you just never really talk to them, and you're like secretly having like I don't really like them, I don't want to talk to them, but you just keep putting it off type of energy.
Right. Or appearing like, I really know myself, none of this stuff works, I really know myself, instead of, hey guys, I need help. Right? Like
Yeah. Or having a problem within the group, or within the the round table, and not bringing it to the round table, instead like seeking 1 or 2 people within the group and being like, hey, like I don't really like what's going on, maybe we should try to start something on our own.
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
Which is totally fine, because hopefully we'll see it and we'll just be like, hey, go do your own thing. There's no There's no reason why people can't be doing their own thing. So
Definitely
that
felt that energy yesterday.
what that was line 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to go into line 4, which is in 5 hours from the time of this recording. We're going to shift into line 4, which is fatigue. It's the point of exhaustion eventually when reached, when one is too tired to fight. So this is the exaltation, is the renaissance that comes with truth and its eventual reinvigoration, openness, which leads to exhaustion, and the need for silence. The detriment is emotional exhaustion, appeasement, and withdrawal, a role where openness is a vulnerability. So I talked about a couple days ago about this story between a truth seeker and his teacher. And the truth seeker is looking for enlightenment, and the teacher tells him to go down to the river and listen to the monkeys. Eventually, to the point where his mind becomes exhausted, he gives up and he finds enlightenment. That's the short version of it. And so understanding that, later on today, if there's that energy of exhaustion, of fatigue, that, in a way, it's an openness that is going to create this silence or this space by which a treaty can be formed, or by which an alliance can be made, aka you're too tired to fight yourself anymore, or you're too tired to fight the other person, and so there's an opening for alliance, or to agree to disagree. That's what that statement probably comes from.
That makes sense. So we're in 13 yet. 13 in the fourth place. 9 in the fourth place means he climbs up on his wall. He cannot attack. Good fortune. Here the reconciliation that follows quarrel moves near. It is true that there are still dividing walls on which we stand confronting one another, but the difficulties are too great. We get into straits, and this brings us to our senses. We cannot fight, and therein lies our good fortune.
That's kind of like, for instance, a lot of us, I feel like, are fighting wars or holding prejudices, or that's a good way to say it, holding prejudices and fighting wars that our parents started, or our parents' parents started. And we're just fucking tired. Like, we're ready for peace. We were not the ones to receive the slight or the offense. It was our parents, or our parents' parents, or friends of friends, or whatever. And so, again, later today is going to be that point of fatigue where you're like, I'm done fighting. I give up. And maybe you realize, like, it was never your fight all along.
That is true. Yeah.
Got any more on that?
That's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's, the difficulties are too great. Yeah. Carrying that burden of climbing up the hill and trying to get farther away, and then you're just like up on the dividing walls, like, are we gonna do this? No.
Like, we're really gonna fuck each other up again? It's like, I don't think so. And understanding too that this is, this is the hero's journey, or this is the story arc of what creates true fellowship. In the sense that, for instance, the best of friends may not necessarily always start off on good terms or be the best of friends, and ultimately, true fellowship is then tested by this, which is to, at this point, to exhaust all of the ways that, again, there is conflict within the fellowship. And that creating, again, new alliances. So we're going to now jump back to gate 7, which is in the sun, because we didn't read the fourth line, which, again, in 5 hours from this recording, we are going to drop into line 4, which is the abdicator. That's the willingness to accept the judgment of the people and or the rule of law. In its exaltation, it's the grace and wisdom to step down for the benefit of the whole, the capacity of the self to accept the judgment of others. In the detriment, it is one who must be forced from power by overwhelming opposition, which is the refusal of the self to accept judgment from others.
Yeah, so from like a military standpoint, it's like you've been at battle and over half your army is dead. And you're like, oh my gosh, we must retreat, like they're just destroying us. If we don't retreat now, then we're all going to die.
Right.
Yeah. So it's knowing when to retreat.
Yeah, or even the sense that it's like, hey, we've lost a quarter of our troops. We're going to lose half of our troops if we keep fighting. Let us, step down from power. So this is really the testing of the ego, right? Mm-hmm. This is the testing of the ego. It's like, what is it that you have to prove here? Or specifically, like, why do we need this win? when it's very clear that we're not going to win?
Yeah.
Right? Is it going to make us better in some way to like have gone all the way to the end? Which is interesting because I love Spartan culture, and based on the movie 300 and also Gates of Fire, which is about Spartan culture, they didn't really have an option for retreat. Although there were times when they would retreat, they just didn't call it retreat. It was like live to fight another day kind of energy.
Yeah.
So
which is that's what I'm getting out of this, is live to fight another day. And it's like instead of having the ego to push all the way to the end and be like, but I can make this happen, like I know it'll happen, being like, oh, okay, I see where we've been at fault. Let's reconvene so that we can reassess the situation, come back to it another time.
Which would be like, in a way, less of an ego and more of like an inflated G center, because seven is in the G center, and the heart, although it's like very intrinsically tied into the G center in a way, in the sense that like the heart chakra kind of split into the G center and the ego center. But the inflated G center would be one that is unable to recognize anything outside of its own identity. So, for instance, if, again, you're a Spartan and the motto is never give up, never surrender, right? Only forward. That identity could mean the death of you. And ultimately, while it's there to create that sense of identity and give you that sense of love and direction, if you die, then how useful is it? So that would be the abdicator, the willingness to accept the judgment of the people and or the rule of law or the reality of the situation. Rule of law being the law of the Lord Melchizedek of the kingdom, of what is actually happening in the kingdom right now. I'm just going to accept that this is what's happening, and the best way to actually move forward might be to take a step back.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything on that, guys?
I mean, we didn't read it, but we encapsulated the whole energy of
Read
it.
Read it.
6 in the 4th place means the army retreats, no blame. In face of a superior enemy with whom it would be hopeless to engage in battle, an orderly retreat is the only correct procedure because it will save the army from defeat and disintegration. It is by no means a sign of courage or strength to insist upon engaging in a hopeless struggle regardless of circumstances.
Yeah. All right.
That's great if that's where you guys ended up with the conversation without reading that.
Yeah. I kind of looked at it and was like, that's totally the energy of what he just read too, just in layman's terms, or rather.
All right. So now we're going to consult the I Ching. And this is, unlike the transits, going to be a little bit more of like a guiding force for us throughout our day. I mean, transits are definitely a guiding force. You can't really resist the transits too much. You can just use it for differentiation. But anyway, this is just going to be kind of like an oracle, as if we're like pulling cards from an oracle deck and offering a divination.
Yep.
So that's going to be for everyone here, and then also the anybody listening in the recording. So if you're here right now, if there is something that you want guidance on or clarity on, you can go ahead and send that energy through your screen. And we're going to throw some coins and read the I Ching. And I'm going to write it here on the board so everybody can see. Okay.
We have the Yang.
One in the first place.
Yang.
Yang in the second place.
Yin.
Yin in the third place.
Greater Yang.
Greater Yang in the fourth place.
Yin.
Yin in the fifth place.
Greater Yang.
Greater Yang. All right, that's it.
Let's see. Got boop dee boop.
Lake and I think that's fire.
Yep, lake and okay. 38. Opposition.
I'm gonna put this right here. I'm gonna write this down.
So 2 lines means that we just get the overall from 38.
We have 2 changing lines, so there is a changing hexagram. All right.
Oh, it's 1 that we just focus on.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is. Oh yeah, you're
If
right.
there's 1.
So 38, which in human design, 38 is in the root, pushing up towards the spleen. But go ahead and read.
I have
this
this
gate. You have this gate. Yeah,
Yep.
check and see if you have this gate as well.
So the lake below the flame, the fire. Tui below Li. Kue, the opposition. This hexagram is composed of the trigram Li above flame, which burns upward, and Tui below the lake, which steeps downward. These 2 movements are in direct contrast. Furthermore, Li is the second daughter, and Tui the youngest daughter. And although they live in the same house, they belong to different men. Hence, their wills are not the same, but divergently directed. Interesting. Okay. The judgment, opposition. In small matters, good fortune. When people live in opposition and estrangement, they cannot carry out a great undertaking in common. Their points of view diverge too widely. In such circumstances, one should above all not proceed brusquely. You know this word? Brusquely. Brusquely.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. For that would only increase the existing opposition. Instead, one should limit oneself to producing gradual effects in small matters. Here, success can be expected because the situation is such that the opposition does not preclude all agreement. So, yeah, what this is talking about is that obviously the fire is moving up, the lake is going down. So, these things working in opposition don't necessarily work together. Brusquely, adverb, in a rudely. Okay, so it's do not proceed rudely, for that will only increase the existing opposition. Instead, one should limit oneself to producing gradual effects in small matters. The image, so above fire, below the lake, the image of opposition. Thus, amid all fellowship, the superior man retains his individuality. The 2 elements, fire and water, never mingle, but even when in contact, retain their own natures. So the cultured man is never led into baseness or vulgarity through intercourse or community of interests with persons of another sort, regardless of all the commingling. He will always persevere his individuality.
So this is like not necessarily allowing others to change you or your essence, and also not necessarily trying to take big leaps, but to move steadily and gradually, right?
Yeah.
That's what I heard too.
Yeah. Cool. Check with the projector. Is that good? That makes sense. And we do have a changing hexagram. So this, anytime we roll 3 heads or 3 tails, we're going to put a dot next to the and that's going to indicate a change. And so I'm going to erase that dot, and then I'm going to change that line. I'm going to erase that dot, and then I'm going to change that line. So lake still on the bottom, and then earth on the top. So now we have another hexagram to like add some context to us.
19.
So Kylie says, I've got this gate on both sides. Oh, so 38 in your personality and your design. Interesting.
So yeah, the changing is 19, which is approach. Oops.
19?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the heaven above the lake.
Wait, what? No, it's earth above the lake.
Oh, earth. My bad. That's what I meant.
Yeah,
I
okay.
just said it.
So 19.
Came out the opposite.
My friend, heaven and earth are different realms.
Yes, they are.
19, approach.
Yeah, approach the lake below the earth. So the Chinese word lin has a range of meanings that is not exhausted by any single word of another language. The ancient explanations in the Book of Changes give as its first meaning becoming great. What becomes great are the 2 strong lines growing into the hexagram from below. The light-giving power expands within them. The meaning is then further extended to include the concept of approach, especially the approach of what is strong and highly placed in relation to what is lower. Finally, the meaning includes the attitude of condescension of a man in high position toward the people, and in general the setting to work on affairs. This hexagram is linked with the 12th month, January-February, when, after the winter solstice, the light power begins to ascend again. Okay, so it's like approaching spring.
Hmm.
This is the energy of like going towards like bloom and growth.
So like approaching spring. And also this is connected to 49 in the solar plexus, which is about revolution. And so 49 would be
It's
like,
a cycle of life.
yeah, 49 would be the, the energy of a revolution. 19 would be the approaching of the revolution, which ultimately revolutions happen because the needs of the people are not being met. So 19, if you have 19, that's an energy around being able to kind of situate yourself in a position where you have, or it's the pressure to assess if the needs of the tribe are being met, or if the needs and desires and we just leave it at that. Needs and desires of the tribe is being met, and if they're not being met, 49 is kind of what provides the emotional energy or the relational energy to then spark the revolution. So 19 would be like gathering the kindling, and then 49 in the solar plexus would be the actual spark of the revolution. What do we got for the judgment?
Judgment. Approach has supreme success. Perseverance furthers. When the 8th month comes, there will be misfortune. The hexagram as a whole points to a time of joyous, hopeful progress. Spring is approaching. Joy and forbearance bring high and low nearer together. Success is certain, but we must work with determination and perseverance to make full use of the propitiousness of the time. And one thing more, spring does not last forever. In the 8th month, the aspects are reserved. Then only 2 strong light lines are left. These do not advance but are in retreat. See next hexagram. So talking about 20 here. We must take heed of this change in good time. If we meet evil before it becomes reality, before it has even begun to stir, we can master it. Let's go ahead to the image. So the image, the earth is above the lake, the image of approach. Thus the superior man is inexhaustible in his will to teach and without limits in his tolerance and protection of the people. The earth borders upon the lake from above. This symbolizes the approaching condensation of the man of higher position to those beneath him. The 2 parts of the image indicate what his attitude towards these people will be. Just as the lake is inexhaustible in depth, so the sage is inexhaustible in his readiness to teach mankind. And just as the earth is boundlessly wide, sustaining and caring for all creatures on it, so the sage sustains and cares for all people and excludes no part of humanity. So when spring comes, spring doesn't, it's not like, oh, I'm just going to bloom over here and not over there.
Like evil and good, both experience spring.
Invasive and endemic. All plants are going to grow no matter what.
Can we go back to 38? I want to
go
back. I'm going to go back to so with the combination of these two, 38, where are we going here? 40, 38 again, just because judgment, opposition in small matters, good fortune. So in your approach, make sure that there's small steps is what I was just making sure that that's what it was saying.
An approach makes small steps.
So whatever you were thinking of when we started pulling, or whatever you wanted guidance on, small steps, and recognize that there's going to be a polarity that's growing in opposition to you, that don't ignore the evil that's growing along with it, which is funny because I was thinking at the end of this, I should go on TikTok as well as when we do this, but not pay any attention to TikTok and more than just like stay focused on this. Because a lot of times when I do go on TikTok, I'm like catering to whoever is showing up on TikTok. And like last night, for instance, I was like on TikTok and firing. And over here, I was like, oh, like I feel like my Discord community is not necessarily used. I'm in AI NPC mode, you know? And then when I turned TikTok off, I was like, oh, that was fun, you know, for anyone who was on that live last night. And so an opportunity, I think, for me to continue to grow in a lot of capacities. And since we're already doing this, to actually go live on TikTok as well as this and just let TikTok watch, but not necessarily let TikTok influence the way that I do this. Because I think what I'm doing here is, I really like what I'm doing here.
It's the same energy of like we've been talking about with Lodge.
Yes, to be able to include people without excluding those that created the very thing, and give it essence and give it life. So,
so you watching right there, look at me in the eyes. Thank you.
Oh, lawfully excellent. Well, Eric, you've been lawfully quiet. Do you have anything to share? No, wonderful.
Man of the law.
I want to point out what an excellent projector Eric over here is. You know, he's never one to like interject or put his opinion there unless he's asked. And I also don't necessarily feel like how to say this is like he's not pressuring me to be seen just by being here. Like he is just here because he wants to be here. And so I love that about you, bro. It's fucking awesome. Okay, anyway, I think engaging with TikTok is cool from time to time because as a beginner, the questions that pop up are things I might not think to ask for myself. That's a good point, Tucker. Yeah, last night was a cool experiment. And I think I'm definitely going to do that, you know, a couple times a week, probably to you know, have just bring some of that through because it is a powerful like energy. For me personally, it's like it takes a lot of energy to go up there and like, you know, be in the TikTok world because there's just so much energy. Here it feels a lot more regulated. But yeah, that's good to know. Thanks, bro. All right, so that is going to do it for TN Transits and Iching today. Thank you guys for joining. We're going to be posting the recording here, and let's see, any updates on the server? I'm going to add a new post your chart channel. That's going to be a forum that's going to have like a gallery, so that way you can post your chart and then people can reply to your chart individually. And I'm not sure if I'm going to get rid of the post your chart that we have, so I might like, you know, because just the chaos is kind of cool. So there'll be like a chaotic post your chart channel and an ordered post your chart channel. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much. Big love to you, and we will see you tomorrow for the next TN Transits. Also, one thing that is coming up in our lives, me and Luke are going to be leading a retreat for some men out here on Maui. So we haven't necessarily committed or decided to doing the transits. So there might be a break starting Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We may not do this. We also may come on here and it'll be like really short and brief. So just wanted to put that out there. But we will be back
for the brief
after it. Yeah, he's like, yeah, let's do the brief.
I don't want to leave.
No, I want to sleep more. But no, I'm kidding. It's a lot of energy to hold that space for the men.
Is.
But it's, you know, it's also again,
this is filling the cup.
This is filling the cup, and this is also like guidance, so that throughout the retreat, you know, we can have the transits to help guide us. So anyway, love you guys. Catch you later. Peace.
You want to flip flop later?
I'm gonna play that lo-fi radio.
Oh, lo-fi radio. Do your thing, lo-fi.
Do your thing. Lo-fi, do your thing. Oh. Me